What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting they're possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions. Welcome out, everyone. All of you amazing decoders around the world, wherever you may be, both male and female. My name is Logan, and this, of course, is Decode Your Reality. And today we're going to be breaking down and decoding the exit. This will be Exit Decoded. Kind of a follow-up from my Prison Planet series. And if you're here, you're supposed to be here. If you're here, get yourself strapped in, get settled in, put on a pair of headphones. Folks, this one is going to blow your mind. Without further ado, let's jump into this thing. Obviously, the song that I chose, which it chose me, was the band Europe. A band that I grew up loving because I was an 80s kid. The Final Countdown. Thought it was, the song popped into my head as I was doing this. No joke, because that's the way it works with my life. Just follow my script. And there was the comedy automatically for me. It's the element gold in the 70s. If you see 79, it means gold, but the Final Countdown. And if you this is the watch I chose just randomly, but I'm sure if you pick some of these numbers out on the watch, it's 7:25 p.m. I'm sure you'll find you got 44 degrees shown on there, Saturday the 24th. There's just so many things with this right here. But, the Final Countdown, this album coming out in 1986. Not just any date, but it was released on May 26th. And, again, I didn't pick this. It chose me. But how about this? the word harvest. This is what perhaps is coming down the pike for all of us. And I'm excited about it, let me tell you. Because life's beautiful, man. As crazy and unpredictable as it is, just got to enjoy the ride, man. So it's the Final Countdown, man, and the exit strategy. Let it begin. So let's get into the topics of conversation for this decode. In the zero position, the intro, which is what I've already done. I'm doing now. Number 1, the trance. Number 2, enter. Before we exit, we enter. Number 3, yes, exit. Number 4, copper battery. Number 5, and the last topic will be the overview, and always love to hear what you see during these decodes. What did you see? So keep your comments coming in the comment section below. Love to hear your comments from all you great decoders. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Number 1 topic on the board here, the trance, which is what we enter into. You see the word entrance. It's a 2-syllable word. Trance. You enter a trance. 30 is tied to the word demiurge. 30 is tied to the New Age name of the ancient Israelite God of the Bible. Jehovah is 30. Santa Claus going down the chimney is 30. There's the comedy. And in the medicine deck, we have Follow the White Rabbit, Neo, tied to the moon. So our entrance into this world? Is it through the portal of the moon? Well, so the great Santos Bonacci thinks so. My great friend Santos just lives right down the street. If you've seen my Prison Planet series, I had come out with that and said, I feel like maybe we're children of the moon and the sun and the recycle process. But we enter a trance. Of course, the N is the 10, man equals 10. Then 10th element is neon, more colors of the rainbow. It's just all there, but the trance is the big giveaway. It's the 20. So are we just entering are we under a trance? Are we being hypnotized? And we enter into our birthday, which we all have, our solar returns, but our birthday, when we're born. That number has a massive amount of significance for all of you. But are we just inside of a trance, and do we get out of that trance? Perhaps we break out of that hypnotic spell, realizing, wait a minute, what's going on here? So this is kind of what it comes down to. If you look at the top of your screen, it says entrance to play the game of life. Entrance to play the game of life is 113, and we get right into, if you haven't seen my Bloodline Decoded, or my Random Thoughts number 6, where I broke down the blood, it's Nihonium. See these elements, if you're new here, we combine numerology with numbers and math, and we use alchemy, because alchemy has a lot, we're made up a lot of these elements. So these have their bridges. And I showed through my bloodline and my blood decoded, it's the all 8 blood types is 286, and it's this element Nihonium, which is the element discovered in Japan, which is known as the land of the rising sun. And this 113 that it has for its protons tied to the entrance to play the game of life is tied to the 30th prime number. So how about that? So we go right back here. You enter the game following the white rabbit, perhaps through the moon, and you become man or woman, and you end up getting a blood type. And right below the 113 being the 30th prime number, we have the sine and cosine waves, which these are so valuable. This is advanced, but if you're an avid decoder and you want to figure out how this reality works, start looking at your sine and cosine waves. This is the sine and cosine wave of the number 113, and it ends up equaling the number 137. And if you know what you're looking for, of course, the 137 is tied to the 33rd prime number and the fine structure constant and light itself. But here is the blood types, just to refresh your memory, if you have been following along. See, when you enter the game of life, you enter an avatar. You become a human, and you have a blood type. And you become the man stuck in the box, or the woman stuck in the box. And it's all tied to this Nihonium. Discovered in Japan, there's the blood cell, the red blood cell right on the flag. They're going to tell you it's the sun, but the sun is the as above, man is the so below. Our red blood cells tied to the sun. But it's all right in the code. But that's how you get into this game called life right here. I mean, imagine you're the architect or architects. I feel like this is the way it works. You're in the spirit realm and you're like, hey, I really want to go down and play that game called life. That game looks a lot of fun. Or maybe you're the architect and you just like, I want to go check it out and see what it feels like to put my feet in the sand and swim in the ocean, hear the birds, feel some emotions and whatnot. And you decide to come and look how beautiful this is. Notice the dominating color of green, which is the color of neutrality. And then you have blue and green, those two colors. But this is how I feel the game works. Very appealing, this game called life. So when you take this 137 found from that 113 that I just showed a bit ago, there it is again, right there. Entrance to play the game of life, 113, tied to our blood types, tied to the entrance, tied to the demiurge, and it's tied to the 137, and there's the 137, and then the alchemical representation of that, it's barium. Barium, if you study barium, the clues right in the element, they give you barium meals to study the x-rays of the stomach. We're in the belly of the beast. We go down into the hole, and we go down into the belly of the beast, which is the stomach. That's the dead giveaway with barium. But barium being the 56th element, tied to that 137 and the speed of light, and the movie. We end up moving into the lights, camera, action. So to enter the game of life, we become an actor or actress on the world stage. And life is all theater. It's all a big, theatrical presentation. And there's a script that we all follow. And we're all humans where light slowed down into physical matter. We're just resistance in frequency through the measurements of what these numbers that we're using. But nonetheless, we're just light slowed down into physical matter. It's where spirit meets matter, right here. And this is just all supporting what I'm saying here with this 56 and the speed of light. We're going to get more into the speed of light in just a minute, but let's get into the second topic now. Enter. That was the trance. Now let's get into the actual word enter, because then we're going to get into exit. So how about enter the game of life? You want to go play the game of life? You got to enter the game of life. And when you enter the game of life, you can clearly see that there's a few numbers playing out here. Let's start with the word enter, 21. And we want to bring in alchemy, and then we want to get a picture for that because we think in pictures. So we want to get the tarot's say on this, how amazing the tarot is. So alchemy says it's scandium. Scandium has an average atomic weight, 100% abundance, 44.956, but this is called the isotope 45. Science is going to round this up. And it's the world card, because the world card in the tarot is the 21st card in the deck. So we clearly see here with the pictures, we enter the world. We enter the game. And you got the 4 fixed signs of astrology on this card. And then you have the O, and you have the androgynous being inside that O. The O being the portal. So we enter the dragon, which is, light, and we end up entering Pandora's box. Because 21 is scandium with enter. Scandium has a weight of 44.956. This is going to be isotope 45, and there's the dead giveaway. We enter Pandora's box. I mean, this is, you can see pi right there. 45 is the number of Saturn's magic square. If you add up all the numbers of Saturn's magic square, it's going to give you 45. That's right. We enter Saturn's magic square of Pandora's box. And it's a shitstorm down here. It's chaos, but then there's order. There's beauty there. But what about the game of life? We enter the game of life. So we bring in the next set of the next card in the alchemical representation for the game of life. I had to modify this a little bit, but it's still, you're going to get this outcome. The game of life is 59, and it's tied to the element praseodymium, which means green twin, and the green twin is Jesus and Thomas. It's good cop, bad cop. That's what it means. Everything just is down here in Wonderland. And this praseodymium is 140.908. It's isotope 141. Folks, if you've been paying attention, what is 141? Well, it's pi, 3.141. And, what is 21? 2 plus 1 is 3. It's pi, 3. This is the 3. This is the 141. You see how that works? We enter into pi, and pi is our emotions. And we enter into the 59th card, and it's the 9 of swords. And this card is like the nightmare. It's a nightmare. That's what this card means. Worry, stress, anxiety. It's the card of the nightmare. We're in a nightmare. This game of life, Pandora's box, is the nightmare. Pandora's box, the nightmare. But it's the green twins coming down here. You're going to be male or female, Jesus, Thomas, good cop, bad cop. And you enter into the game of life. And when you take these two elements, isotope 45 and isotope 141, and you add those up, bam! You get a deeper meaning of what this game of life means when you enter into it, because you see it leads to this element rhenium. 45 and 141 is 186. Rhenium is element number 75. Lucifer, the original Hebrew spelling, is 75. Lucifer's the light bringer. That's right. To get down here to the game, you need the light bringer to get you here. Rhenium being the element that is got the highest melting point. Think about what I'm telling you there. It's got the highest melting point. And rhenium has the 186, isotope 141, isotope 45. So when you enter the game of life, you end up becoming matter through light. Because the speed of light is measured at 186,000 miles per second. And there it is, right on that element. And I mean, is it a coincidence that Lucifer, the original spelling through the original Hebrew Aramaic pronunciation of it, Halil or hell, is 75 through the Hebrew gematria? No, it's not an accident. You see, to enter the game of life, you need to come through the light bringer to bring you to the game, to escort you to the game, to play the game. And it's the game master down here in Wonderland. Right there, you can't miss this. This is science bringing in alchemy, talking about tarot and numerology, all blending it together to give us a really big, broad stroke picture of what it means to enter the game of life. Enter the dragon. The dragon is light. And so, I mean, here's kind of a more solidified position for Lucifer, the Lightbringer. Rhenium equaling 28 numerology and Lucifer equaling 28 numerology. The word architect equals 28 numerology. What is light? Light is an architect. See, light's the devil because, you see, what are you going to do? You're going to go around in the dark? Everybody just turn off all their lights and just go stumble around in the dark and see how much you get done. You're not going to do much sinning in the dark, folks, when it's pitch black. Can't see anything. You need light to do that. That's where the sin begins. And that's where you're going to get the tide of the devil down here in Wonderland. So what about the number 80? So we talked about the breakdown of the enter the game of life, but it's a total of the number 80, and how very fitting, right? Because we end up linking to the element Mercury. And this is so interesting because here we have now the fallen angel story. That's right, because how many fallen angels were there? 200. And it's right there with Mercury. Mercury having 80 protons. Remember, Mercury, if you watched my lead to gold, Mercury was one of the two elements, 80 and 81, in between gold and lead. Part of the game of life. 80 is tied to the tree of life. Tree of life equals 80 through the original Hebrew biblical expressions. That's right. Hydrargyrum is how the Latinized spelling of it is, and, you know, right here. I mean, Mercury's the planet of communication. Is Mercury just our pineal gland? Think about that. I mean, it's the first planet, really, when you look at it, and it's typically the color red, and red is the first color at the very top of the rainbow. And what's at the very top? I know the crown's there, but could it be tied to our pineal gland? I mean, the pineal gland, the communicator, tied to Prometheus, the trickster, and Epimetheus. I mean, it's all right there. All tied together, just different wardrobes being worn. So anyway, let's get into the next topic now, the actual title of this decode. You having fun yet? Let's get into the exit. So how about exit? That's why I'm sure that's why most of you are here. Like, some of you want to get out of this game. If you saw my Society of Jesus Decoded, which I'm going to be showing in a second, showed my Prison Planet Part 2, showing all of you how I feel you exit the game, if there is such a thing. So exit is 15, the game of life is 59, that's not going to change, it's a 74. But here are the two cards showing how to exit the game. Obviously, the game of life is going to stay the same. It's going to be the Nine of Swords here. Exiting the nightmare. Some of you don't want to stay here. Some of you don't want to stay here. I get it. But here's, I mean, the perfect card to describe what you would do when you leave. You're escaping the clutches of the devil. You're escaping that. And, you know, exit is 15, and we bring in now Lucifer again. See, Lucifer delivers you to the game. It's the game master. The game master's the devil. Got you by the chains. And the chains, of course, are bondages caused by experiences and your script, as well as, the thoughts and et cetera, et cetera. But you want to become the devil to get out. You got to unify yourself. Realize that the good and bad are all part of this reality. And judging the bad is not going to get you out of here. You can say it's bad, of course, and not partake in those kinds of things, but everything down here in duality has its say, because without the villain, there's no superhero, vice versa. Many of you, you light workers, I say, if you better make best friends with the dark, because if you don't make best with the dark, you got no job as a light worker. You need to have the dark down here. You need the devil. The church needs the devil to have a position in reality. But there it is, the Lightbringer, and 30 is, if I go back up here to the start of this, we enter the trance, it's 30. So when you enter the trance, which is 30, and you can see that phosphorus's average and most abundant weight is 30.974, you can clearly start to see the entrance is the same way you exit. You enter the devil, you exit the devil. Of course, tied to your ego. But this 30.974 is isotope 31. They're going to round that up. So you have 31 and 141. What do you see there when you bring those two together? It's pi. You enter pi, you exit pi. Pi is your emotions. Pi is good and bad. Pi is realizing the fear and love and then just making peace with that. There's three, and then when you add these up, you're going to get this element right here. The big clue here is the 70th element, this element called ytterbium, and 31 and 141 when you add it up. That's where you're going to get that from. 172. And this element is called isotope 173. And what do you see there? Well, it's a permutation or a number anagram of the 137, which I showed earlier, tied to the lights, camera, action. That's what this is telling you. You want to exit the game, you got to exit the theater, you exit the movie, you exit the Truman Show. And the number 70 is a very special number. I mean, if you just saw the things going on the world stage, the platinum jubilee being celebrated by the Queen, and 70 is the number at the very top of it's the seventh pentagonal number tied to man. This is the crown of man right here. So you want to get out of the game, you got to go all the way to the top to get out. And it's a process, the steps, the Jacob's ladder, if you will. And then ytterbium starts to tell us even more of a story. When you do the numerology of that, it starts to go towards the Gnostic demiurge, Yaldabaoth, which, you can get into the Enki and Enlil. You can get into the demiurge. You can get into, there's so many ways you can slice or dice this. Obviously, it's much more powerful than we are, so just give it the respect it deserves. You don't have to like it. But the job of the demiurge is to run this reality. And this reality is a lot of fun. But it has a lot of suffering and nightmare and worry and doubt and stress and fear and all that kind of stuff. Obviously. So this 29 is going to lead more towards Yaldabaoth. When you actually say the devil and 9 of swords, these two cards, which is exit the game of life, it's 89. And Yaldabaoth in the English is 89. So we have Yaldabaoth here tied to ytterbium and phosphorus and praseodymium. And then we have Yaldabaoth with the cards and the numerology of the two cards of exit the game of life, the 89. But it just doesn't stop there. We then go to the two cards that are tied to the devil and the 9 of swords. You see, even though the devil card in the tarot is a major arcana card and it's card 15, it's still going to be tied to the pip cards and the 2 of clubs. The 2 of clubs is the 15th card in the deck. 2 means duality. So it's very fitting that the devil runs the 2 of clubs, which is duality, which is going to be the mind, because this represents the mind. It's in your mind. And then what do you got right here? 2 people. That's me and you. Right? This is duality right here. And then this card, the 9 of Swords, was created from the 9 of Spades, card 48. And what do you got on the cards? A 2 and a 9. Bring those together, what do you get? 29. It's pretty crystal clear here. See what's going on, what's running this reality. It's the Gnostic Demiurge, what the Gnostics called, which is a Christian sect, which is the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh. Folks, there can't be any separation of this kind of stuff. Okay, it's just packaged differently. The Yaldabaoth character. Yaldabaoth, Yod, they all start with the letter Y. It's just really interesting. But when you add up the 15 to 48, then you get into more solidification of the 29 in Yaldabaoth, because 15 plus 48 is 63, and this element right here has a weight of 63. It's copper. How many protons? 29. Copper is, in the Latinized, it's called cuprum. Cuprum is 33. You want to exit out of the game of life? 33 is the number of ascension. Got to get past the devil first. It's challenging to do that. I love it, man. Elvis on that song called Suspicious Minds. He's like, we're caught in a trap. I can't get out because I love you too much, baby. Yeah, what was he talking about? He loves life too much. How fun life is. That's why. All these stories, the prison planet and I got you, babe, Sonny Bono. It's like, I got you. You're here, you're mine until you get out, man. Till death. You're mine. So you want to become the devil. You want to merge the two and unify and become the devil and get the hell out of here if there is such a thing. But this copper is really interesting because it gets into the next topic now, which I know all of you have probably used these. You have some of them in your appliances, in your remote controls. It's Duracell. Because you see, as I have been saying for many years now, we live inside of a battery. And you are a battery. And I am a battery. It's called the Torus field. Santos Bonacci talks a lot about mankind being an individual Torus field. Mini ones. Which we're just cells in a battery. We support the major constructs of a battery, the self-contained system called life. And what runs it? The devil. Just gotta have fun with this. It's not a boogeyman, folks. It's just an energy. It's a battery. And this should just prove and solidify and support once again with over 300 other videos I have showing that mankind is being used. We are following a script. Okay, this should prove it again right here. So the copper top battery, this is the comedy. The copper top battery's called Duracell. And you can break this down. I have this shelved, Duracell decoded, but I'm gonna probably pull this one out. But we live inside the constructs of a battery, and this should just prove it right here because these two guys, Samuel Rubin and Philip Mallory, are the two gentlemen that made this battery famous. And the word battery is 19. Now, let me just show this to you and show you how scripted, how ridiculously comical this I don't know what else to tell you here, folks. Samuel Rubin, born July 14th. There's the 714. That's Lucifer. This is going to be Jesus and Lucifer, exactly what I'm showing here. So he's got the Ace Diamonds card. And then Philip Rogers Mallory, who actually formed the company and joined forces with Rubin to make Duracell, has got the November 11th card, the 1111 card, the 9 of clubs. So the aces are the first card in the deck, the very first card, and the 9 is the last card, besides the Jack, Queen, King. But what do you have here? 19. What do you have here? You see what I'm saying? Folks, what are we to do with this? How are we to describe this? How else can we explain what I'm showing you here? You think these guys had a choice in what they did in this reality? They're not trying to screw you over or mock you or any of that ridiculous context. These guys formed a battery company. We live inside of a battery. It's called life. And these guys were being used to make the battery called Duracell. And this right here is a perfect example of good cop, bad cop, Jesus and Lucifer, because this guy right here, Samuel Rubin, born on July 14th, there's the 714. Those numbers, according to Manly P. Hall and all my research, are tied to Lucifer. And the dragon, this is the 27th card. The great dragon got hurled down, and the dragon needs something to fight, and you have the card of Michael, because if you watched my Society of Jesus Decoded, I showed that this November 11th date is one of the cards tied to Jesus. It's the 316th day of the year. And this is the card that represents that. And it's card 22. How about that? Right there, folks. Not only do I have battery, showing you battery, showing you we live inside the construct of a battery. It's controlled by copper. But inside the battery is good cop, bad cop. Right there. You can't miss this now. Okay? You can't miss this. And then when you take their cards, of course, the numbers of them, the official numbers, this is card 27, the dragon, and then this is card 22. Michael equals 22. You see what I'm saying? Michael battled the dragon. It's inside the battery. Michael is 22, and dragon, this is the dragon right here. This is the dragonfly card. 27 plus 22, and down the hole they went. Michael fought the dragon. It's 49. And when you say the two of clubs is 49, and what was the two of clubs? Well, it's tied to the devil. You see, folks? Folks, we live in a scripted reality, man. Just have fun with it as best you can. Figure out what the hell you're doing here, because these guys are being used. Obviously, down in the hole we go, and the two of clubs. I mean, if you look at the two of clubs here, it's right here. Here's the two of clubs. I mean, look at the picture of this card. Down in a hole. The birth of it is here, and then down in a hole is here. You got the world in the palm of your hands. You're standing between two pillars. It's good cop, bad cop, positive, negative. And you stand right in the middle of neutrality, the middle path. Blending both of these and unifying both of these energies together. That's what it means. Come into this world naked. This is a baby right here in the middle. Not programmed. Not yet anyway. But we live inside of a battery, folks. It's just the way it is. And here's the guy who formed, before he joined forces with Samuel Rubin, he formed, it's called the PR Mallory Company, and it's Philip Rogers Mallory is his full birth name. Look at what he's got. The 69, man. 69's tied to the element thulium. And it's also tied to Cancer, the crab, because Cancer has, the zodiac sign Cancer has the 69 as its emblem. And what is Cancer ruled by? The moon. The way we got here. It's just all there. It just keeps going. You can see it. And then his company name, PR Mallory Company, is the 60. And it's Feed the Wolf. What is the wolf? It's the battery. That's what the wolf is. And we're little mini batteries. 24. 24 is the X. X is the chromosomes we have. The X and the Y chromosomes. X and Y is 24 and 25. That's 49. 49, and we go down in a hole right there. You see? X and Y is 49. 24th and 25th letter. We go down in the hole to play the game and become under the guise of the devil. And it's a nightmare down here. It's a beautiful game. Don't get me wrong. I love life. But it's just scripted. Just got to figure out what the script is. I'm showing you the script here. It's pretty much undeniable. So let's now get into the last topic. And yeah, man, I'm having fun with this. the overview. Let's overview this whole thing now. Overview. So let's get into some alchemology. Now, if you're new to this, alchemology is taking numerology and then bringing it into alchemy. So exit is 5514. So it would be boron twice, hydrogen, and beryllium. And then we add these up. What does this name mean through alchemy? And there was the big clue. It's 32.038. I'm using the most abundant now. You can use the average, but I'm using the most abundant. 32.038. 38, of course, is the Red Queen. It's the Manchurian candidate, of course. And the 32 is representing the degrees at which ice freezes, which is why I have the ice cubes here. This represents duality. 33 is ascension. It's where liquid turns into water turns into a liquid. 32 is where water turns into a solid. It's the separation point between life and ascension. 32 and 33. That's why the Freemasons, you get the 33rd step. That whole transmutation right there. I'm sure there's merit to that with what I'm showing you here. But this 32 is a really big deal, tied to the exit. You got to exit. 32 means duality. And it's tied to hell. You see, the 16th element being sulfur, 16 being the game master, and it's 32. The average is 32. And it's tied to the word hell. So you're in hell. You want to exit hell? Well, there's a formula to get out of hell, perhaps. Again, these are theoretical pieces I'm throwing at you. Can't prove it, but I know a lot of you are looking for the way out. But there's sulfur. Sulfur 16, 16 tied to the Tower card and perhaps how we all got here. But nonetheless, pretty dominant there with that 32 and 38. And here's the expressions of it when you break it down through alchemy. Here's another way you can do it. Taking the outcome and then once again going into alchemy, and it's germanium. This is a really big clue. I could have went really deep with this one, but I'm not going to. It's just only so much time, but it's germanium and strontium. And when you add these up doing alchemy, you're going to get the number 160. I mean, if you take 32 and 38 and you add those up, you're going to get the number 70. Remember what I showed you what the 70 was? Going back here, right there, to exit the game of life, it's 70. You see? So we found it here by the fullest expressions of exit the game of life. It's 70, which is the crown, tied to the crown, tied to the devil and Yaldabaoth, the Gnostic demiurge, tied to light. This is light. 173 is a permutation of the 137. It's all light. Exit the game, you exit through the light. Or you exit the light. But this is telling it right here. When you add these up through the weights, you get the golden ratio, 161. So this expression right here now brings in the other half of pi. It's pi and phi. And remember, phi is the 21st letter in the Greek alphabet with the New Age now. But it's dysprosium, this element right here. And I mean, think about what I'm telling you here. This element means hard to get. Yeah, well, to exit the game, it's hard to get. Theology says, cramped and narrow is the road. See, that book and the Upanishads and the Tibetan Book of the Dead, these are all ancient texts telling you how to get out of here. It's not just going to roll the red carpet out and say, this is the only way to do it. There's booby traps in there. I know there is. It's not just laying it out and trying to figure it out and that's it. Hard to get. The game of life. To get out of the game of life, it's hard to get. Dysprosium. And it's the 66. 66 tied to the Christ. You are the Christ. I am the Christ. We are the Christ. It means love. Slightly love. Let thy eye be single. Perfect. Stop judging. Follow the middle path. It's hard to get. The middle path is. Because the game of life involves you taking sides of hot and cold. That's the way it works. That's why I love the song by Elvis, Caught in a Trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. It's hot and cold. The middle path involves getting rid of all that. And that's hard to get, folks. It's hard to get. So here's an alternate way of looking at it, just straight up with the total numerology outputs. Enter the game of life is 80, exit is 74. And as I showed, Mercury was the big standout, but we also have the obvious dead giveaway, the element selenium, which has the isotope number 80. Selenium is from the Greek word selene, which is the name for the moon, going right back again to how we perhaps got here through that portal. I mean, Christoph in the Truman Show, he was on the moon. Don't leave, Truman. He was on the moon. Okay, so there's reference to the moon being the portal of how we all got here. And then, the moon and Mercury, I mean, when you do the numerology of both of those, here's Mercury, it's 23, and so is the moon. So these are heavily tied together. I mean, and no matter which way we slice it, but this is completely very fitting right here. That we perhaps, we enter the game of life through the moon. And that means, how do we exit out of here? Do we go back the same way we came? Well, the exit the game of life is 74. 74 is going to be tied to these two elements right here, these two big elements. First one's arsenic, dead giveaway. 33. Jesus was crucified at 33. That infamous, notorious 33, which is just the number 8 when you bring them together. That's tied to the hourglass. Of course, Jesus and Lucifer both equal the number 74 because they're both part of this reality. And then you have this element, tungsten, which has 74 protons, and it's the wolf. Feed the wolf. Exit the game. You got to exit the wolf. It's not easy. If there is such a thing now. But these two are very big on the world stage. And then if you get into the sine and cosine waves, to finish this up, I got a few more slides. Thanks for sticking with me, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about the word enter one last time for the overview of this. Enter's 21. Here's the sine and cosine wave for the number 21. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this right here, this way of decoding is going to show you things you're not going to see just by connecting words to numbers. You need to go deeper. If you're a decoder, if you want to just stay on the surface, you're going to get watered, muddy down results. But if you want to get into the frequency of these numbers, you get into the sine and cosine wave. And it's pretty crystal clear what's going on here. And to me, it supports what I'm saying here of how important the sine and cosine waves are. It's the 129. I mean, look at what it is. 70 and 59. 59 is the game of life. You enter the game of life through the crown. The crown is 70. And it's tied to this element tellurium. This means earth. This comes from the word tellus. It means earth. You enter the game of life. The 129, it's the most abundant. Its average is 127. The most abundant is 129. There it is, the connecting point. This is not an accident. You enter the prison planet. You enter the game of life. The game of life is 59. I decided to look at what day in the calendar is 59. The 5/9, it's May 9th. And look at what day of the year it is. It's the 129th day of the year, matches the 52nd element tellurium, which is, the prison planet. There it is. 52, prison planet. It's all connected right there. So 59 is the game of life. It's the 129th day of the year. Tellurium, being the 52nd element, has the weight of 129, and prison planet is 52. This is undeniable. And the sine and cosine waves 129 from the number 21 as you enter into the game of life. And then this card right here is the May 9th card. The May 9th card is the 4 of diamonds, card number 30, which is the entrance, remember? The entrance. And it's the Jack in the Box card. Jack stuck in the box right there. This card, if you know what it means. Look at, I'm not letting these things go, man. I'm holding on to it. I love it too much. I love this world too much. Holding on, not wanting to let go. That's what this card means. Because this, like Elvis says, I love you too much, baby. I got you. You ain't going anywhere. This is us, the discs. The pentagram right there. This is mankind. The 5-pointed star it's us. We're under the feet and the hands and the guise of the demiurge, folks. That's what it means. And then going even further, what about February 21st? It's the 52nd day of the year. February 21st. And it's Prison Planet. Right there. It's the 221. It's the 221. What about the word exit now? Finishing this presentation up, the sine and cosine waves, the overview of this. How important these sine and cosine waves are, ladies and gentlemen. They're huge. So this exit is 15, the sine and cosine wave of 15 right here. And then even this is massive. 15 is the fifth triangular number. The triangle, the trigonal, the shape is so powerful. There's the sine and cosine wave. Even the, if you just go to the 6 and 7, 67 is holmium. Magnetic, 65 and 75 is 140 tied to the puppet master. But if you do the full breakdown, look at what you exit. You want to exit, you got to exit pi. You got to exit the emotions. You got to leave all that shit behind. It's what it's saying here. It's what it means to me. Sine and cosine waves make up pi. Got to leave all that behind. It's tough. And then just doing the same thing. This is the gem of all gems on this decode right here. This says it all. I mean, putting the nail in the coffin. It's the 141. And what element matches that 141? I mean, there's several elements that do, but obviously this one is the big standout because it's neodymium. Neo, the one. And let me just tell you right now, this is tied to the Great Pyramid of Giza. Not sure how to go deeper on that, but this is tied to the Great Pyramid of Giza, the exit. I mean, is there something to that? But this, this was the big standout. And the 5 of Swords being 60 and neodymium is 60 protons. Feed the wolf is 60. You just got to stop feeding the wolf. Stop giving your energy to the static on the world stage. Take back your power. And you see, this card right here is the 5 of Swords. And what do you have here is people throwing their swords down and saying, I don't want to play anymore. I want to exit the game, which I showed in my, right here. If you haven't seen this one, I showed that this is talking about Revelation 3:16. And the church's interpretation is not the same as mine. They're going to tell you want to be a hot and cold. I'm telling you that is bullocks. That is not the way to be. Hot and cold is playing the game. You want to get out of the game, you got to stop playing it. You got to be lukewarm. The middle path. Throw down your sword. Don't want to play anymore. So check this one out. But it's right there. With the sine and cosine. If you're using math and frequency now, forget about someone and what they want to tell you in their opinion. How about frequencies and math and numbers, which rule over this reality? It's telling you. You want to exit the game? You got to throw your sword down. And that can be really challenging, folks. It's not easy to do it because it involves a lot of the habits that we're taking on day by day. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you sticking around, allowing me to be the tour guide for this. This one was a lot of fun, man, but this was a real eye-opener for me. And I have so much more content, but this was a real eye-opener for me. And, I got so much more I could show you. But I already know what I'm doing. I know what my path is. All that matters is what you see and what you want to do. Not here to convince any of you. Not here to change any of your beliefs. If you don't, agree with anything, some of the stuff I say, all good. Maybe you need to go find your truth somewhere else. Don't really care if you want to follow this channel. Not interested in debating, arguing, not interested in that stuff. I already know my truth. Don't need to defend it. And neither do you. But I would love to hear what you saw. during this presentation. So keep your comments coming in the comment section below. I got some great content coming out, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for today. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. I thank each and every one of you for your donations, your Patreons. Those of you that are looking for readings, I have a few days left in July. Not sure if I'm going to open up my full calendar for August because I'm going to be traveling. But nonetheless, till next time, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you later.